Welcome to Innovations and Breakthroughs with your host, Rich Goldstein, talking about the evolutionary, the revolutionary, the inspiration and the perspiration, and those aha moments that change everything. And now, here's your host, Rich Goldstein.
Welcome to Innovations and Breakthroughs, where I feature top leaders and the path they took to create change. Past guests include Roland Frazier, Ryan Dice, and Joe Polish. This episode is brought to you by my company, Goldstein Patent Law, where we help you to protect your ideas and products. So if you have an idea, go to goldsteinpatentlaw.com to find out more about how to protect your idea. And so this is a bit of an unusual episode because I'm rolling down the highway in Florida, going from Sarasota to Miami. It might be a little bouncy if you're watching the video version of this. And if you are watching the video version, and it's kind of fun, you get to see me and my guest here just kind of hanging. And we spontaneously decided to do this podcast episode. And so I have with me here today, Rey Perez. Rey is the branding guru. He's the guy who helps you to kind of take what is already true about you and spread that message out into the world. He created something called 360 sites, which is a way that facilitates you connecting with other people easily using their preferred method of connecting, whether that's by Facebook or by text message or what have you. And we'll talk a bit about that more later. But Rey is the branding expert. I'm so excited to have him here. So Rey, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I love that I get to be part of the one unique episode when we're rolling down the highway at 80 miles an hour while we do this podcast. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, and by the way, thanks for the ride to Miami.
Absolutely, my pleasure, my pleasure. This is the executive travel for all our premier clients.
Yeah, we're in Rey's Escalade, and so we're traveling in comfort, and I'm speaking tomorrow in Miami, so it's just really awesome that this worked out. We got to spend this time together. So yeah, let's talk about branding. How did you first get interested in branding for yourself and for other people?
Well, it's really interesting because initially I got into the world of branding and marketing and promotions by being a nightclub promoter in South Beach. So I was in college going to Florida International University, and I was in a fraternity, and a friend said, hey, you know a lot of people, do you think you could help me out promote this party at Sing Your Frogs in South Beach, and you just invite some people and I'll pay you per head and I'll give you a percentage of the bar. And mind you, I'm like 20 years old. I can't even drink. But I said, yeah, I know a lot of people. I'll invite them. And the first night, I made $800 cash. And back then, to make $800 cash in one night, basically inviting people to a party and doing no work, was out of this world. I actually had a lawn service. I used to cut lawns. And I used to make in a weekend like $350, which was pretty good. But it was like 3 days of 12 hours a day of cutting grass, sweating, and being in the dirt to make $350. And here I am in one night, $800 cash. And that changed my entire view on business. And that's really where I said, okay, I'm going to pursue this. And what I had to do to get people to know about the event, to know about the nightclub, to get them interested in coming is basically the same stuff I do today to get people to come to live business events and seminars and stuff like that we attend together. But it wasn't until 4 years ago where I started to learn about the power of personal branding. I was branding businesses, I was branding companies, I was branding events, and I understood branding and marketing, but I didn't understand what it meant or took to be a personal brand until I started becoming a speaker. And once I got on stage and once I started learning what it is to be someone that not only inspires and moves an audience, but also gets them to take action, I started to realize, wait, if we can connect with people faster, build more of a relationship, they're more likely to trust us, they're more likely to want to do business with us. So I started taking all the branding and marketing skills that I had from the past, and I started integrating them into my speaking using my personal brand. Within 2 years, I was outperforming all the other speakers that I was traveling with in the Small Business Expo. We were on a national tour, attending all these different events. I'm not sure if that's how we met or not.
We met with some of the Power Team events.
There you go. That's it.
Yeah,
I was on the speaking tour.
Yeah.
So, but I was the number one speaker out of besides the main guy, right, Bill. He was the number one, but I was the number one of all the smaller speakers. And it was because I incorporated my personal branding, my marketing into what I was doing. And then what ended up happening is speakers would ask me, hey, can you do this for me? And then it turned into an entire business. And now I specialize in personal branding. I mean, I've gone deep in the rabbit hole. I took the red pill and went all the way down. And I'll tell you this, if you're listening to this podcast or if you're watching the video, your personal brand has way more value than you give it credit. And we all have a personal brand, whether you like it or not. The question is, who's going to dictate it? Is it the world that's going to dictate it, or are you going to control it? And that's what we do for our clients.
No, that's amazing. And and to be clear, you say you were the number one speaker. Really, what that means is selling from stage. So the ability to, which really is, I think, one of the most amazing skills that you've developed, which is to be able to take an audience, give them value, and move them to want to work with you, so that they ultimately walk to the back of the room with their credit card and say, I want to work with you more. I want more of what you have. You've shown me some valuable things about branding, and I'm excited about what else I could learn from you or gain from working with you. So, that's kind of like that's a really high level skill to be able to instill that value, get past people's just automatic skepticism.
Yep.
And get them able to, or just willing to take action and take their wallet out and pay you.
I will add to that, though. Yeah. I did become good in speaking and selling and getting people to take action, but I also learned how to cultivate a relationship with those individuals, get them connected to me, get them to give me their information.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not ready to give me their credit card in that 60 to 90 minute presentation, but they would give me their information, they would follow me and connect with me, and then later on, I would also make sales. And that's something that I've never personally really seen a speak to sell speaker do effectively. And now that's something that I teach and train, because there's only so many people that are going to take action and buy within 60 to 90 minutes of getting to know you. But there's a lot more people that be willing to give you their information and continue to cultivate a relationship. And maybe a month down the road, 2 months, 6 months down the road, they've been following you, they've been watching, they've been listening, and now they become your customer. And that's what I believe in. I believe in the balance of both.
Exactly. Well, and that's the thing too, is like not everyone can be as good and as effective a speaker as you are going to be. And so what you are able to show other people what to do is how to not just generate sales when you can, but also generate leads, to make contacts, which then you can cultivate and follow up, so that even if someone isn't totally moved to do business with you on the spot, you're able to make a good impression, which is what branding comes in. So you help people learn how to make that right impression. And then you show them how to create systems where they could follow up with those contacts. So they've made a good impression, and then maybe it takes a bunch of additional touch points to actually generate business from it. But because they've made that connection, because they've captured the information, now that's possible.
That's right. And in business, and anyone who's an entrepreneur, business owner, business professional that's listening to this podcast, I see that there's two areas that we need to work on for business growth, for business scaling. Number one is leads. How do we generate people to be interested in what you do? And then number two is sales. How do you get those people that are interested to actually become a buying customer? Now, some people have a leads problem. Some people have a sales problem. Some people have both. I particularly work in the area of leads because it's the first step, right? You can't make sales without leads. And it really goes down to what you were saying about cultivating a relationship, providing value, making this person want what you have, or trust that they want to have a conversation with you to see if you can provide a quality product or service. And at that point, once you're on a call, once you're on a Zoom, once you're in a conversation, then comes the sales part, which my partner is actually the one who specializes in that. I'm pretty good, but that's where I partnered with a top salesperson to be able to provide that resource as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess the elements of what we're talking about here is, first of all, making an impression, which is branding.
Yep.
So like finding the right, and I mean, you're a genius at this. Like you do workshops. I've been to your Brand in 2 Days workshop where you kind of go through the room and you talk to the people participating and you recognize, okay, how do we characterize what you do? And then you capture it in like 3 words.
Yep.
And then that's the identity that they become. And then you help them create branding that's wrapped all around that.
Well, let me add to that. So to build a brand identity, there's 3 pillars: your visual identity, your verbal identity, and your value identity. Those 3 is what builds that brand identity. And when you're talking about the 3 words, that's language, which is really the most important in marketing. Anybody who studies marketing knows that language or copywriting, the written word, is the most important part of marketing. So when you have good language, meaning who I am and what is it that I do for you, then people will be attracted because they'll say, oh, I want that. Oh, that person looks valuable to me. Because people are only interested in what's in it for them. WIFM, what's in it for me? So when people are marketing themselves, sometimes they talk about themselves opposed to talking about what they do for them, which is what people really want. And that's where we really specialize in creating that language. So people say, oh, yeah, I want that. And then they're attracted to you.
Right, exactly. Because what your verbal title is then is the thing that they're looking for.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yep. Exactly. So, I mean, it's like, I'm just going to have an obscure example, though. It's like if someone is a doctor, they'd say, well, I'm a doctor. But maybe to the buyer, they are the kind of wellness, like the feel-good expert.
It could be the leading health and wellness physician.
Right.
That would be different than saying I'm a doctor.
Right.
And just that shift in language shifts the perception of value of the person that's reading or that's listening to it. And that's what we really should do when it comes to branding, is how do we use our visuals, our language, and our value systems to have other people who come across this, whether live in person, virtually, or digitally, because there's a difference, right? We're physically live in person. People who are on a live stream or on a Zoom call is virtual. It's still live, but it's virtual. Digital is anyone who's listening to this podcast or watching this recording. They're watching a digital representation of us. Our message is digitally being sent. So when you start realizing, wow, I can do things live in person, I can do things virtually, or I can communicate digitally to anyone in the world at any time, then you start saying, everything I say and how I say it has a meaning, has a purpose, has a value, has a connection with the audience that's consuming it. So if I'm going to share something about myself, shouldn't it give them the most value so that they feel more attracted to me? And I'll give you a perfect example. Let's think of a celebrity. What's your favorite celebrity?
Oh, favorite celebrity. I don't do good with on-the-spot questions like this. Let's just say The Rock.
Okay. I love him.
Yeah.
All right, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. I love him. He's like the new Schwarzenegger, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's badass.
He's funny.
He's funny. He's okay. Yeah. So The Rock, when he first came out, before he even made it to wrestling, nobody knew who he was. So the perception of value before he was even The Rock of Dwayne Johnson was very low.
Right. You
could have met him, you could have pictures with him, it makes no difference. Once he got into professional wrestling, became The Rock, perception went up. Once he started getting into movies, it went up. Once he started doing all the stuff that he has now the guy is famous. He's a celebrity. So the question is this: do you feel that people love The Rock?
They do.
They do.
Yeah.
But how many of them actually met him?
Probably 0.1%.
If that, right?
Yeah.
If that.
Yeah.
So how is it possible that a human being can actually have an affinity towards another human being that they've never ever met?
It's they in their mind they create a notion of who they are, and then there's an impression. There's an impression that's made that kind of lines up with something that they value.
Perfect. How's that impression made?
Visually, and also I guess through auditory means too.
What they hear,
right.
What they see, and what they read.
And also what they feel, right?
Well,
and what they feel in response to those.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's what they see, what they hear, what they feel, what they see, what they hear, and what they read, okay? And it's how they feel based on those three things.
Right.
The connection that starts to build. But it doesn't happen right away. It happens over time. So I say it's the amount of exposures to what someone sees, hears, and reads over time. Many exposures, starts to create that connection, that feeling. After a while, they feel like they know the person and they've never met them in their entire life. That's what I'm talking about, personal branding. How can you as an entrepreneur, how can you as a business owner, how can you as a business professional start putting in front of people these exposures of what they see, hear, and read consistently over time to a point where they feel that you're a celebrity and they feel connected to you and they're like, you know what? If I needed that service, I'm going to you. Or I'm going to introduce you to someone that I know. And do you know why they'll introduce you to someone that you know if you have a high level of credibility or a high level of value?
Because they, it increases their value because they know you. They know someone like you.
It makes you look good.
Right.
And as human beings, we are egocentric. We are interested in what's in it for me. So if you have high level of value and I know you and I introduce you to someone that I feel can benefit from your services, now that person looks at me and says, oh, wow, thank you, Ray. And you just made me look good. So the more you focus on your branding of increasing your level of value, the more referrals you'll get, the more introduction, the more business will organically be attracted to you. And all of a sudden you're like, where's all this coming from? It's because what you put out, you get back.
Yeah. Awesome. And so I think that leads naturally, though, to then how we have those repeated connections, or those repeated touch points, which comes from connecting,
Correct.
Connecting with people and techniques for connecting with people. And I would say we could just jump right to talk about the 360 sites and what you did there, because I think that was a very important innovation.
Yeah.
That you did to help people to connect. So like maybe let's talk about the problem that people face when they meet people and they want to connect and exchange info. What's the problem?
I'll tell you the problem I had.
Yeah.
That I needed, because the reality is this. I'd love to say that I invented this for entrepreneurs because I wanted to make the world a better place for them. But the reality is,
you made it for you.
I made it for me.
Yeah.
Because I had a problem. I would go to networking events. I'd go to seminars. I'd go to trade shows. I would speak at events. I would be a vendor at the events. I'd be a sponsor at the events. And I needed to figure out a more effective way to network because it was taking too much time and energy and wasn't producing enough results. So one problem was effective networking. Number two was I realized that in today's digital day and age, people like to research one another using Google and social media. Would you agree?
Yes.
Now, you might be listening and never consider that people are actually looking you up on Google and social media, but they are, okay? Which means what's on your social media actually will give a reflection of who you are and the value that you bring in the world. So I started thinking to myself, okay, all these entrepreneurs and business owners have websites, including myself. But a website is built by you, controlled by you. Social media is not. So human beings prefer to look at the social media because they get to figure out who you really are more than looking at your website. People are smart. So I said, okay, well, what if I made my social media the same stuff that's already on my website, and it gives the perception of value of what they see, read, and hear about me the way I want them to have it. Because in the end of the day, it's what we all want as entrepreneurs and business owners.
Right.
So I said, okay, but how the heck do I know what's your preferred social media? When I meet someone, do they like LinkedIn? Do they like Facebook? Do they like Instagram? Are they a Twitter? Like, how the heck do I know? And I'm not going to sit there and ask them to connect with me with 5 social medias, because first of all, they're going to think I'm creepy. They're going to think I'm strange and I'm too forward. So I thought to myself, it would be absolutely amazing if I had one link that gave all of my social medias, my websites, my contact information, my videos, my book in one place, and let that person who's getting to meet me choose how they want to research me, how they want to connect, not make them have to Google me. And that's how a 360 site was born. One link, one place, with everything that exists on the internet in this one place, so people don't have to do the due diligence, or let's be honest, they might not spend too much time researching you. But if everything's in one place and they can just click around, they might actually spend more time learning about who you are, connecting more, building more rapport, which ends up making them trust you more and ends up wanting to do business with you.
Yep, absolutely. And I think even more than what you just said in terms of like the channels, it's also the preferences. So like if someone comes to your 360 site and they want to connect with you on Facebook or Instagram or by through their phone number for like text messaging, then that's one thing. But it also could be like, hey, I'd like to watch a little short video about this person.
Boom.
And it's like, you know what? I'd like to read an article that they wrote. It's like their preference of how they want to get to know you better. It's not just the channel, but it also could be a different type of media.
Some people joke and say it's how people like to stalk you.
Yeah.
but hey, it is what it is, right?
Right. It's like,
I'm not going to deny.
Yeah, it's like inviting them. Be my stalker and choose your stalking preference.
And choose your preference.
Yeah.
And here's another thing that happened not by coincidence, but by like God's grace. It's become a way that has allowed me to cross promote my different services, my different companies, my different products, even though they might not have anything to do with each other. It's allowed people to say, oh, I didn't know you did that. Oh, I watched this video. I saw your nonprofit. I saw your charity. I love what you're doing with the kids. See, that's hard to do on one website. You can't put multiple businesses on one website because then you look like a jack of all trades, master of none.
Right.
But this platform has allowed me to show people I have a nonprofit, I have a video production company, I have a branding company, I have a talk show, I have a vlog, I have 2 books, and nobody ever feels that I'm trying to be salesy, because that's the one thing that I've never, ever wanted to do. I've never wanted someone to feel that I'm trying to sell to them.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing about being salesy is that when it occurs as something that they don't want, it feels salesy. When it occurs as something that's natural, that it fits with what they wanted next, it's like, oh, I'd like to read up on you. Or, oh, I'd like to connect with you on Instagram. Then it doesn't feel salesy.
Correct.
Because it's just fitting what they want. When you're interrupting them and saying, hey, wait, come over here, let's have a conversation. Like, I didn't want to have a conversation.
I didn't want to go
I didn't want to have a conversation.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. And so, again, it's 360 site. That's what it is. So that's like the innovation was creating this type of website where you essentially you give someone one link. You could be like Rich Goldstein 360, which, by the way, I've got to update my 360 site. Seeing you reminded me that I know there's a lot more features you have. I got to update mine. Or Rey Perez 360.com. And like that's the notion of it. And so one of the things we did though is we said, hey, this is something that could really take off. And not only take off, but it's like even the notion of it is like a 360 site, like your 360 site, like come check out my 360 site, was something that was important to your business and growing your business. Yeah. So we
and the name was important.
The name was important. So like
hence the reason why we hired you.
Right. Yeah. So we recognizing that IP is important, we protected those things which we think people might find valuable in it and that people might try to imitate. Would concern maybe someone else would say like, I offer 360 sites. Well, no. We want to clarify for people that a 360 site is something unique to Rey Perez and his company.
And my IP.
Yeah. And so that's why we did trademarks for my 360 site, 360 site, things like that also for like.
Well, you did it for my branding event, which same thing, my intellectual property. Yeah. We've been able to figure out a way to brand people in 2 days, create all their medias, their videos, everything. There might be some other people that are trying to do something similar, but nobody can now use my IP and nobody can use my name because of the trademarking you did for us.
Exactly. And so I think then that's a key thing. Well, that's an important thing for your business to reestablish that, and it kind of gives you the freedom to go out there and say hey, 360 sites, promote 360 sites. A lot of times people that don't have protection, they find themselves in a situation where they want to promote it, but they're afraid that if they promote it too much, someone will see it that will then copy it. It's like, you know what? I could get you on Oprah. Like, oh, no, we're not ready for that because, well, what if someone sees it?
Yep.
And so once you're able to protect it, you can just go out there and say, like, I'm just going to tell the world about 360 sites because that's my brand. And if it gets big, it's going to be me getting big.
That's right.
Not someone else.
And what happens, because you shared this with me once before, someone else starts to copy you, starts to get big. What can you do when you have the trademark?
Well, then, essentially you have the ability to shut them down. Having the trademark gives you the ability to stop them from doing anything that would be confusingly similar, something that would confuse other people into thinking that they're doing business with you when they're doing business with them. And that's exactly what you want to prevent.
That's right.
Cool. Awesome.
And we're grateful for that, so thank you.
Yes, no, absolutely. I'm grateful for this interview. And if people want to learn more about you, I think for once, I know the answer to this question. People want to learn more about you or get in touch with you. How do they go about doing so?
Rey Perez 360.com. Everything's there. My social media, my books, my websites, my contact information, videos, everything you want in one place. And one thing I didn't mention that we did not have when we set up your 360 site a few years ago is we have a community now. So you actually can go into the directory and type in a industry, a title, a keyword, and find people in the 360 community that pop up. And when you click on them, it takes you to the 360 site. So if somebody's looking for trademark or patent or attorney, you'll pop up inside the 360 community and they can connect with you.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. All right, well, Rey, thanks so much for doing this interview.
Thank you.
Thanks for the ride in one of your Escalade, one of your 8 cars. but yeah, and I guess now just off to Miami. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Innovations and Breakthroughs with your host, Rich Goldstein. Be sure to click subscribe, check us out on the web at innovationsandbreakthroughs.com, and we'll see you next time.